Hello and welcome to tonight's free webinar on superfoods. My name is Martin Stone from Switch On Health, and tonight is the first of 3 free webinars that we are running this week in conjunction with Natural Medicine Week 2021, which is hosted by the Australian Traditional Medicine Society. Now, first of all, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody for coming along tonight. We do these sessions for free, and I've got to tell you that it just makes the world of difference to us when we do have people turning up and attending. It really makes it worth our while, so thank you so much for coming. Now, if you happen to be watching the recorded version on YouTube, please help us by clicking the button that says like, and also click the button that says subscribe, because the more subscribers we have, the more we can offer, and we look forward to offering you more. Now, I did say that tonight was the first of 3 sessions that we're running this week, and funnily enough, tomorrow night's session is going to be about supplements. So we're going to be talking about, do you need them? Should you take them? Are supplements really good for you, or are they just a waste of money? What about quality issues? Are some supplements better than others? So these are the sorts of things we're going to talk about in tomorrow night's session. That'll be me and Deanne. But for tonight, we don't need to talk about supplements, because what you're going to learn tonight is how you can turbocharge the nutrients that you get when you eat food every single day, simply by including foods that are super, in other words, superfoods. Okay, so that's enough for me. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm now going to hand you over to our presenter for this evening, experienced naturopath and homeopath, Sally Maisie. And it looks like Sally's frozen. Which is
thanks, Martin.
Perfect timing.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a nice night. Where I am is in the middle of... Oh, have I frozen? Oh, that's not a good one. Have you got
you're
me?
Back again. You're back again now,
Am I
Sal.
there? Hello, hello.
Yeah, your picture's
there?
frozen.
Can you hear me?
Picture's frozen. Audio is okay, so just turn off your camera and keep going.
So I'll continue anyway. All right. Now, so hello everyone, welcome. Yep, I'm back again. I'm here. That's good to see, to know. Continue on. All right. As Martin said, I'll turn my camera off because that will help with connection. Excuse me. You don't need to see me as I cough half a lung up. Hello everybody. Tonight we're going to talk about superfoods. With these superfoods, a lot of them you know a fair bit about. They're literally food that need, because they have nutrient. So you can see there's powders, grains, there's seeds, there's some berries, you know, and all of these contribute what a good healthy diet is. So let's continue on. Let me change slide. All right, so what is superfood? Well, the term superfood was first used in World War I. And you're all going, wow, that was ages ago. You know, everybody thinks that superfoods are a 20th century trend, a 21st century trend, sorry. Well, no. Hello? Can everybody hear me? I hope so. Yeah, Martin, can you hear me?
Yep. I don't know what happened there. We did lose you. We've lost you.
I don't know what happened then either. But anyway, I'll persevere and continue on.
You need to get your slide share back up, Sally. Okay, that's it, Sally. You're back on.
Technology, we love it, don't we? We all continue. I hope everybody can really do. Continuing, the was first coined in World War I, food a high density. What basically means that lots of vitamins, of minerals, lots of and lots of oxidants. So we need all of those in order to have a functioning body and a healthy body. And antioxidants are one of the prime components to nutrient density. Energy. Well, energy dense are high. They make you feel full. They taste rich potentially. You must say taste great. No nutrient value.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, we seem to have lost Sally again, which is very unfortunate. We'll hope that she comes back. We'll just have to give Sally a couple of minutes. Okay, looks like she's coming back now. Now, we can't hear you yet, Sally. My guess is that it must be stormy weather where Sally is at the moment, because we're not in the same suburb at the moment. She did tell me the weather wasn't looking too great earlier on, so that might be interfering with her internet connection. Very poor quality, Sally. So it's breaking up a lot. Very hard to hear what you're saying.
Can you hear me, Martin?
Yep, we can hear you now. Still there, Sally? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, just bear with me. Yeah, you can hear me now. Okay, we'll persevere. I'll try and be as quick as I can, guys. Can you hear me, Martin? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just really poor sound quality, unfortunately. Sorry, everybody. This really isn't going well, and I know Sally put quite a lot of work into her presentation. I'm not quite sure what we can do about it at the moment. Maybe we'll just have to reschedule for another time. You should all have received some notes that would have been emailed to you which are in essence Sally's presentation for tonight. Now, obviously, there's going to be more that Sally talks about on top of the notes. There's a lot more beyond what we've just sent you.
Are you there, Martin?
Yeah, you back, Sally?
Can you hear me better?
We can, actually. So
Excellent.
Let's go.
Because I'm actually outside now in the freezing cold, but that's okay. I'll persevere.
All right, go for it.
All right, so let's continue, guys. Obviously, you know, like we said, first coined in World War II, nutrient density. So that means lots and lots of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. The big one is the antioxidants, because what antioxidants actually do is they keep your cells healthy. They keep your cells healthy by removing free radicals. And that saves you from getting what's called oxidative stress or mitochondrial damage. You know, the least number of free radicals in your bloodstream, the better, because that means your blood is lovely and healthy, okay? So what that does is the more free radicals, the more you're linked to different diseases. So you've got an increased chance of cancer or cardiovascular disease. You've got a more chance of chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. This is what all these abbreviations are on this slide. Potential central nervous system issues. And also, you know, you could be prone to musculoskeletal conditions such as, you know, osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, so autoimmune conditions as well. One of the things you need to consider, though, is that you might be immunocompromised if you've got lots of free radicals sort of floating around in your body. And what that means is that you're going to get sick quite often. Yeah. One thing that I recommend is if you ever get the chance to do it, it's called HemoView, and go and have a live blood test, What they do is they take a little prick of your blood, put it on a slide, and then they show you all these beautiful things that are hanging around in your blood. It's just great. One of the other things about these superfoods is that they're low in calories. So it's really good for people who are trying to lose weight because it makes them feel fuller for longer. And as you can see there, most of them are plant-based. What happens with these superfoods also is that they have anti-carcinogenic properties. So they're going to fight those cancer cells. And they're also anti-inflammatory. So they're going to reduce your inflammation. And the one thing, you know, that everybody wants is immortality, and they want to look young forever and ever and ever. And this is what this has. It has anti-aging properties. So we're going to go through a whole heap of these foods, how to use them, and where they come from, yeah? So one of the things that we need to do is that you're going to talk about supplementation tomorrow, as Martin was discussing. And supplementing is okay, but as we all know, food is medicine, yeah? So a whole food diet is vital. And what most of these foods are whole foods. There are some powders involved, but unfortunately, the reason why those powders are there is because that's how they're processed. They're not processed as a whole food. Okay, so let's continue. Here we go. Here's the World War I image that I found is food value of bananas. Classic, isn't it? We all think bananas are a staple, but back in World War I, obviously they weren't. Here are some of the foods that we're going to go through today. You know, you can see there the avocados, the Brussels sprouts, the blueberries, the almonds, some pomegranates, some beautiful parsley, some spinach, you know, some oats. All those things are great superfoods. So what I've done is I've put them into categories. And we're going to go through each one of these categories and discuss what they are. So the first one's the Allium family, berries. EFAs basically just means essential fatty acids. We're going to talk about some leafy greens, some legumes, some medicinal mushrooms, and not the type that are going to give you an hallucinogenic sort of effect. Some nuts and seeds, some liquid powders, some spices, some teas, and some whole grains. We're then going to do a couple of individual ones. So again, the one thing you might have noticed is that all these slides are really colourful. And that's one of the keys as well to a really healthy diet is lots and lots and lots and lots of colour, okay? So it's really important that you get through to people your patients, your clients, that they need to eat a wide variety of colours, not just the same veggies every day in and out, because each sort of superfood has different nutrient values. We're going to talk about cacao and dark chocolate. We're going to talk about honey and maca and molasses. We're going to talk about nutritional yeast and turmeric, you know, one of the buzzwords of the century. And we're going to talk about wine. Yeah, I think because of all the technical difficulties we're having, I hope you all have at least one glass in front of you right now. So here we have a dragon fruit and some turmeric. So what do we do? How do we include them into our diet? So you can have them savoury, you can have them sweet, you can use fresh products, you can use frozen products, you can use them in a liquid form, you can use them in a powdered form. You can put them in your dips, you know, so pestos is really good. Hummus is really good. You can have desserts, you know, your puddings, your slices, your protein bliss balls, you know, add a whole heap of superfoods to it as well. Pancakes and waffles, yeah. You can put them in an infusion, so you can have them as like a hot drink or a cold drink, or you can put them in an oil, and that way it infuses the flavors into that oil. You can use them as powders and liquids, as I've said, so you can use them as milks or flours. You can put them in baked dishes, roasted dishes, breads and biscuits and cakes. You know, I hope you've all had dinner, because you're probably all salivating right now, yeah? There's salads, both cold, raw and warm salads, juices, your lattes, your juices, your smoothies, soups, stir fries, curries, stews, spreads and sprinkles. Yeah, it's endless. There are endless ways to include all of these foods in your diets. So here's just a simple salad. I put the croissant in the back there. I like that because at least there's something naughty in there as well. Yeah, but you can see that it's fairly simple. It's easy to include. So we'll start with the Allium family. Now, the Allium family is the onion family. Excuse me. The onion family includes your onions, your shallots, your chives, your leeks, and your eschalots, right? So when they're raw, they have what's called prebiotic properties. Now, prebiotic properties is the food that feeds your probiotics. Now, your probiotics are those things, those bacteria in your gut that are the good gut bacteria, yeah, known as the good microbiome. So to have the Allium family raw is really good, because you're then feeding that good gut bacteria, yeah, as opposed to, say, a takeaway meal where you're feeding the bad bacteria potentially. All right. So the prebiotics also helps to reduce cholesterol, the Allium family. It helps reduce blood pressure, prevent cardiovascular and cancers. Now, one really good thing is garlic. You all would know garlic. Garlic is just magnificent. The thing is, though, with garlic, when you cook it, and especially when they say, you know, you've got all these fancy chefs that go, oh, yes, sweat off your onions and sweat off your garlic. But by doing that, you're reducing some of the medicinal properties. So I prefer to ferment my garlic, because that increases the medicinal property, or have my garlic raw, or have my garlic pickled, or put my garlic into my soup or my omelette or my pasta or whatever at the very last minute, just stir it in, yeah? So the new big thing is fermented black garlic, and what that is that it's sweeter, which gives it then double the amount of antioxidants to raw garlic. And, you know, when you don't cook them, they're better for you. The problem with this, though, is that a lot of people can react to the Allium family. You know, they might say, oh, I get a bit of a stomach, you know, ache, or I can, you know, have a bit of a reaction. So the best way to then do that is with your onions in particular, whether they be brown or red, slice them up and then put vinegar over the top of them, okay? Whether it be apple cider vinegar or brown vinegar, whatever vinegar you choose, what that does is it gets rid of some of the phytates, which are some of the things that cause your gut to not feel so good, yeah? I've mentioned the FODMAP diet because the onion family is removed from that FODMAP diet. And because of the fact that it can give you those digestive issues, the FODMAP diet is a short term. Please know that the FODMAP diet is not for the rest of your life. It is a short-term therapeutic diet that helps with digestive issues, in particular leaky gut, IBS. Yeah. So what they do is they get you to remove some of these things from your diet for a period of time. But as far as I'm concerned, the Allium family is pretty good because it reduces colon cancer or the risk of colon cancer. So I'm more likely to soak my Allium family in lots and lots of vinegar and then have it pickled potentially, because that removes some of those toxins, than not have it in my diet at all. So that's your Allium family. Let's move on. There we have them, the chives, the shallots, the leeks, etc. I'm not saying don't sweat them off, some of your onions and your leeks, but they are better for you when they're put in at the last minute, which can in turn not be as pleasant. Yeah, there's nothing better than a caramelized onion tart with goat's cheese. But anyway, let's move on. Let's look at the berry family. Now, we all know about blueberries, but there's also acai berries. Now, that's a little South American berry that's purple, and it contains all your amino acids. That's those 19 amino acids, and it's very high. It's higher in antioxidants than most of your other berries. Now, the problem with a lot of these superfoods is that they can run and become slightly expensive. So that's why we give the other alternatives that you can get seasonally, like your blueberries. Yeah, they're high in fiber. They help with vitamin. They have vitamin K production, manganese, which helps with coagulate when you need it to. Yeah. Cranberries, we all know those little red berries, great antioxidants that helps with urinary tract infections. Now, there's a new berry on the sea front, or on the trend front, and it's called a Macha or Machi berry. Now, it's a sister to the goji berry and the acai berry, and it tends to be a little less bitter because the other two are quite astringent, quite bitter, and it's milder in flavour. It comes mostly powdered, so you'll have to get it from a health food store. But again, it is very high in antioxidants. Another really good one is the Indian gooseberry. Now, you can get a lot of these from the Asian supermarkets, yeah, and when they're in season. There's nothing better than going to an Asian supermarket where I can get all sorts of magnificent fruits and veg that I wouldn't normally see in my Woolworths or my Coles. Okay, so this Indian gooseberry, it is a very bitter tasting berry, though. A lot of your berries can be quite bitter, but the reason why they're bitter is because then it helps your liver. Something that is bitter is going to help your liver. Okay, so your rocket, your endive, your whitloff, your bitter tasting foods, your dandelion are all going to help with those sorts of hepatoprotective, as it says, which helps your liver. The gooseberry is high in vitamin C. Now, it's a really good one for diabetics because what it does is it helps to reduce their blood glucose levels. And it helps to reduce their LDLs, which are those bad cholesterols, yeah? The ones that you don't want to be high in your bloods when you do a pathology test. The final one is your goji berries. Now, a lot of these can be put into smoothies. You've got your blueberries and your cranberries that you can get as juices. There are some really good. Now, you've got to be aware of, a lot of these berries have a very thin skin. So when they have a very thin skin, what that means is that they might have been hit with quite a lot of chemicals. So your berries and your thin-skinned fruits are better bought organically if you can. So this is why go and have a look at when they're frozen, because they're frozen organically, some of them, some of the brands that are out there now, all right? Your goji berries. Now, your goji berries you will find at your Asian supermarkets, and they are fantastic, not just as a sweetener or, as a sweet berry, but I've put them in Asian soups, yeah. Some really nice Asian soups that are like my Thai soups and that, because they add that sour sort of flavour that you want for the balance of sweet, say, sweet, salty, sour. So, don't just put your goji berries in your sweet things, yeah. Again, high in vitamin C, high in vitamin E, which is going to help with diabetes type 2. That's what DM211 means. And to reduce hypertension or high blood pressure. So your goji berries are a great one. So what I suggest you can do is you can buy all these things, and most of them are dried or they're frozen, or you buy them in season and freeze them yourself when they're cheap. Yeah, but you only need a small amount. This is the great thing about these, is that you only need a tiny wee handful, if that, to get the medicinal benefits from these superfoods. So you can, if you think about, you get a packet of acai berries or goji berries, whatever, you only need like a tablespoon or two, if that, to put in your smoothie, to put in your soups. And they give you that great boost of antioxidants and nutrients. Okay, let's move on. These are your Indian gooseberries, and I have seen them in Asian supermarkets, and they're just fantastic. Okay. We then move on to our essential fatty acids. Now, we all know about essential fatty acids. They are those omega-3s, 6, 9s, and they're there to reduce the plaque buildup and atherosclerosis. So therefore, cardiovascular disease, to reduce your cholesterol. So the first one is your avocado, beautiful. It looks like a little heart. It's green. Avocado oil, great for heart health. It's high in fiber. It has good potassium. K stands for potassium there, more so than what your banana would be. So, it's in World War I was the banana. In 2021, it's the avocado. Some other essential fatty acids that you might want to consider that maybe don't taste so great is something like your cod liver oil. I don't know if any of you have had it, but it certainly makes me cringe. But it is very high in vitamin D. If you have somebody who's low in their vitamin D and can't sit in the sun, potentially. The other thing, while I have you there for vitamin D, when you do sit in the sun, make sure that you're sitting with your skin exposed, but your skin is unwashed. Because it's a fat-soluble vitamin, it really needs to absorb properly, and it can only do that on unwashed skin, which is, a little bit sort of oily, and your natural oils are there, and that helps that vitamin D from the sun get in. I got slightly off track. Let me get back to the essential fatty acids. Oily fish. Now, your oily fish are not necessarily your white fish. They're not your whitings and your snappers and your good, fancy white fishes. They're more the really deep sea fish. So they're coloured. They're your salmons. Make sure that the salmon is wild caught, please. No farm salmon, because there's all sorts of nasty stories coming out from those farm salmons these days. Tuna's very good. Sardines in a can. You get the added benefit of them still having the bone in. So you're getting that calcium from the bone. Your mackerels, your Spanish mackerels, your mahi-mais, your wahoos, your swordfish, your trout, and your herring. All really good oily fishes, yeah? And all really high in those omega-3s. You've also got your things like your chia seeds and your flax seeds, and we'll talk about that when we get to the nuts and seeds. So there you've got that lovely sort of, salmon steak there. Your avocados, your walnuts, your pepitas, your almonds, okay? Now we move on to the leafy greens, or what we call the cruciferous family, yeah? And they are just jam-packed full of vitamins and minerals, absolutely chockers. As you can see there, it's all of the A, C, E, and K, or most of the Bs. You've got your iron, your calcium, your magnesium, your potassium, your carotenoids, which are your colours. Yeah, they're high in fibre, they're high in water. Why wouldn't you want to eat them? Yeah, there's great ones out there. You've just got to learn how to cook them. Okay, so cooking these, the best way is steaming them or stir frying them, or putting some of them in the salads, like your baby spinach or your rocket. Your silver beet goes really good in a feta and ricotta pie. Your Chinese vegetables just steamed with a little bit of oyster sauce over the top is magnificent. Okay. Your cruciferouses are the cabbage family, the cauliflowers, the broccolis, the Brussels sprouts. The number of people of an older generation that don't do Brussels sprouts, these people are insane. They're like I call a Brussels sprout a multivitamin tablet. Okay. It is just magnificent for the vitamins and minerals that it gives you. And all of these can be cooked into pies. They can be put into stir fries, as I said, placed into stews. Cauliflower now is a pizza base, which is fantastic. Or it can be used as a rice, which is even better, because then you're not doing white rice, you're doing cauliflower rice. You've got your Brussels sprouts with some pine nuts and a little bit of bacon is just scrumptious. So your leafy veg, your cruciferous family, all sorts of things that you can do with them. Your Swiss chard, don't be afraid of, when you see Swiss chards and collard greens and beet greens, they've got a big green leafy leaf and they've got like a red stem to them or a yellow stem to them. Again, great things. Kale chips, I hope we've all had kale chips. They're fab. All you got to do is chop them up a little or tear them up and put them in the oven for a little while and dehydrate them. Throw some, nutritional yeast over them or some, sea salt, and they're scrumptious. So let's move on. There's all your greens. Look at that. Look how many colours they are. Magnificent. It just makes you hungry. We then move into our legumes and pulses. One thing that's really underestimated by a lot of Western societies, a lot of first worlds don't really get how to use legumes and pulses, but you get most of your, you get most of your essential proteins, your essential amino acids. They're high in fiber. They lower your blood glucose levels. They lower your LDLs, so your lipoprotein density, lower lipids. They reduce constipation. Now, they only reduce constipation, though, is if you are drinking the right amount of water with them as well, Okay, so you've got to make sure that with any high fiber dishes, you also follow it prior to or after with good water. Okay, because you can eat as much fiber as you like. If you don't drink the water, you won't be pooping very well anyway. Legumes and pulses also help with satiety value, which means you will feel fuller for longer. This is why I say, have dal for breakfast. Have your lentil dal for breakfast with some roti rather than having cereal or fruit, because you're going to feel fuller for longer. You're going to get that good protein that'll set you up for a really nice mental health day, because the amino acids work really well with the neurotransmitters, which are all your happy hormones. So your legumes and pulses, breakfast should be breakfast of kings, lunch of prince, dinner of paupers. Your dinner should be the smallest meal of the day, not the largest, okay? Soy, we all know soy. Edamame beans, I hope we've all tried them. They're delicious. They're high in isoflavonoids, which helps to reduce those LDLs. They're also what we call phytoestrogenic. That is just the unprocessed soy. You've got to be careful with some soy products, that the ones that are more highly processed, like some of your soy milks, they become what's called xenoestrogenic. Now, phytoestrogenic means that it's good for the female reproductive system. It helps with estrogen production. Xenoestrogenic means that it can interfere with those estrogen pathways. Yeah. But soy is also very good for memory loss. We've got pea protein. Now, pea protein is now the really good vegan-friendly protein that you can recommend if somebody wants to have a protein shake or a protein smoothie. And it's good to put into a smoothie, because then you can add some flavors to it, because it's not the best taste in the world, but it generally comes in a powdered form. But it contains, as it says there, all the 9 essential amino acids. Some of your other sources of legumes are your lentils. Like I said, there's nothing better than a really nice warming dal on a cold winter morning with a really nice roti. You know, it's just heartwarming. It really is. You've got your kidney beans that you can put into your chili con carne mix. You've got your yellow and green split peas that you can put into a really huge, beautiful veggie soup. Your black-eyed peas that can go into your Mexican dishes. Your green beans that you just need to steam and eat as is, or even eat raw. I can remember as a kid, my mum used to get me to tail and top them, and I'd be eating them raw. Your chickpeas for your hummus, your besan flour. Now, besan flour is just chickpea flour, yeah? Your cannellini beans, your pintos, your borlotti, all of those beans are really good in good hearty stews or soups, or in Mexican dishes. And then you've got your lovely little garden peas. Again, you can eat them raw, or you can just steam them lightly. With a little bit of mint, they're just fantastic. So some of these, though, these pulses and these legumes, if they're in a dried form, they need to actually be soaked first, though. Or if they're in the can, they need to be rinsed. The reason why is because they have these phytates, and phytates are not good for you, okay? So what it does is these phytates can bind to can bind to some of your minerals and take them out of the body, which is not a good thing, okay? And what it does when you soak them and then when you rinse them is that it will increase their nutritional value as well, which is really important. So there we have them. Look at all those lovely. And again, look at all the array of colours that are there. It's just magnificent. We'll move on to some of the liquids and powdered forms, because these are very quite underestimated, these greens. You all would have heard of spirulina, I'm sure, also known as sort of blue-green algae. I sometimes think that when we have lots and lots of fish oils, then maybe we could be outsourcing all the lovely fishes in the world. And if we have krill oil, then, the beautiful mammals and whales don't have any food to eat. But at least if we all share some blue-green algae or some spirulina, then, we're getting a plant-based, which just has as many sort of, EFAs and essential fatty acids as what your fish oils do, or your krill oils. As it says there, it helps to reduce your blood pressure. It's nutrient dense. It's got B12. B12 is really good for your vegans, yeah? Because they're not eating any animal proteins, that spirulina helps with that B12 uptake. You've got your amino acids. You've got your linoleic acid. So what these things do is they help to cleanse the blood. They energize you. They strengthen your blood cells. They regenerate and rejuvenate your blood cells. Chlorella, love it. It's a great thing. Again, it's green. All of these things are pretty green. So you've got to get used to that sort of grassy taste. But, it's well worth it, believe me, because I don't know if you know this, but a blood cell is high in iron, right? Because it's red. So it's high in iron, like iron ore. But a plant cell is high in magnesium. And magnesium is really lovely for mental health, really lovely to help with sleep disorders, really lovely to help with, to help you to relax. If you find that you get home at night and you go, and you're sighing a lot, that means you need some magnesium. So all these lovely greens help with those, packed full of magnesium, yeah? So chlorella, anti-aging, everybody should be drinking it. That's the sort of, immortality type green, really good for your skin, good for your skin because it's high in those nucleic acids, which is very good for your skin. Chlorophyll, one that's not used very often. You'll see it as a liquid in your health food stores. Now, chlorophyll is what we call the internal deodorant. So it's really good for people that get bad breath. because it goes deeper than just your oral, your mouth. It goes deeper than just your your dental cavities and all of that. It goes down into your guts, and it helps to, if you've got a stomach that's fermenting because you've eaten too much meat and the hydrochloric acid might be a bit low, and in your stomach you're bubbling away there, this will help as an internal deodorant. So it helps with halitosis or bad breath. It assists with blood clotting because of the vitamin K. And chlorophyll also is a really good one for women, but well, particularly women, but men as well, because it helps to regulate a lot of hormones. And I always say that if one hormone is out, many, many hormones are out, just so that you know. Wheatgrass. We've all been to the farmers markets, or we've been to the trendy hippie organic markets, and you got your shot of wheatgrass. You're set for the day because, again, it's high in chlorophyll. It helps with your cellular health. It's a blood cleanser. Wheatgrass will also help it helps with the detoxification process as well. Yeah. So that if you've eaten a whole heap of foods that don't agree with you, it's sometimes really good to have. All right. It's got that it's a hemoglobin neutralizer, okay? And there you have some. So you can see there, the super greens, the raw elixirs, concentrate. That got a bit of a peppermint taste to it because, they don't want you to be drinking too much grass. Don't be like one of my students who said, I really am pooping a lot of green. They were having something like 50 mils a day. You only need 10 mils a day. Okay, so you don't need a lot. All right. Now we move on to the medicinal mushrooms. Again, a lot of these can be found in the Asian supermarkets.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these can be found in the Asian supermarkets, and they're just fantastic. They are anti-carcinogenic. They assist with your central nervous system. They are immune boosters, so they're antimicrobial as well. They will generally kill bacterias, viruses, funguses, fungus, all sorts of things, because they are a little fungus. So they're going to sort of demonstrate in that way, yeah? They've been used by traditional Chinese medicine practitioners for thousands of years, hence the reason why they are so magnificently great. They generally come in a dried form, so you can reconstitute them, yeah? They do come in a practitioner-only blend, but, go to your Asian supermarkets again and check out some of these mushrooms that are available in a lot of these places. A lot of your better delis will have some of these as well, okay? But I'm sure you've all heard of shiitake or cordyceps, the reishi, as it says there, it helps with mental health. So it helps to reduce anxiety and depression. And with so many patients presenting with anxiety and depression these days, it's really important to know what to give them. And if we can give them food, then that's so much better than giving them, a supplementation potentially. And we've got to be careful also that the supplements don't interfere with some of the SSRIs or the MAOIs that they might be on, which are the anti-anxiety or the antidepressant type drugs that they could be on. So it's better to give them food, yeah? You might be able to hear a cow in the background. I'm on a cattle farm at the moment. They're known as the mushrooms for immortality, the reishi mushrooms. You can see there that they help with insomnia, but they also help to reduce cancerous tumours, okay? And that's a really important one. If you have a cancer patient that presents, then I would be getting them onto lots and lots of medicinal mushrooms, okay? That's, of course, if they can handle it. It might be better to supplement in this case if they are a cancer patient, rather than, because they are quite strong in flavour, strong in taste. Again, good in soups, good in stir fries, good in, even just go to the supermarket and buy stacks of mushrooms. You can get enoki mushrooms and buttered mushrooms and brown mushrooms and Swiss mushrooms and all of those. Just do them in a little bit of butter and have them as a breakfast, and it's just magnificent. You've got your lion's mane there, You've got your turkey tail, again, the lion's mane, mental health, nerve, brain health. Turkey tail. There is studies that are now being done on esophageal cancer and in Japan and China, where they are using it as an adjunct therapy. So the patient receives chemotherapy and radiation, but then they also receive these beautiful medicinal mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms, as it says, immunomodulated, so it's going to help your immune system. The cordyceps, the same. What they do is they increase what's called your natural killer cells, which is one of the markers, or what we call one of the macrophages that come out and kill all the bad bacterias and viruses and things. So your medicinal mushrooms are really good to have in a soup around about this time when it is flu season, virus season, COVID season, yeah? Get those medicinal mushrooms into you, okay? And here you have them. Don't they look awesome? You know, they look so pretty and they are so delicious. You just need to know how to cook them. And there are plenty of YouTube clips out there to show you how to cook them. As I said, soups, stews, stir fries, plenty and plenty of YouTube clips that'll tell you how to use a lot of these if you get them fresh or if you get them dried and then reconstitute them. As I said, you can get them in powdered form, you can get them in supplemental form as well. We then move on to nuts and seeds. And again, sweet and savory dishes, all right? Now, I've started with walnuts because it says there DOS. Now, DOS basically means doctrine of signatures. Now, a walnut to me looks like a little brain. So therefore, it's going to be really good for brain. Walnuts and pistachios, though, are really high in melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. So they're really good to have just before you go to bed. All right. Have them in a little smoothie, or have them, you know, have your hot chocolate and then have a couple of the walnuts and pistachios as a little snack. We've come away from having supper as well, but sometimes those things will help us to sleep. Almonds. Almonds first thing in the morning or in a smoothie increases your neurotransmitters, your serotonins, your dopamines, your feel good sort of hormones. So again, it sets you up to have a good mental health day. Brazil nuts, you only need 2 to 3, gives you enough selenium, your recommended daily intake, and really good for thyroid health. Your thyroid helps with all those, you know, it helps with your metabolism, helps with your temperature, helps with your breaking down of food, helps with your energy levels. The big one these days is your hemp seeds and your hemp oil. Again, you know, it's only come into trend recently, but we naturopaths and nutritionists have been using them for ages and ages. It's just that on the packet, it used to say for pet use only. Now it's for human use because they've worked out how good they are, you know, high in prebiotic fiber, as it says, 2 times the omegas and protein as your flaxseed and your chia seeds, and less carbohydrates. So it's you know, going to help in so many ways. It helps with your satiety to keep you fuller for longer. There's those amino acids again. There's that gamma-linoleic acid, which helps with the reproductive system and reduces that premenstrual stress, depression that some women may get. So your hemp seeds are really good for that. If they have them prior to their menstrual cycle or prior to them, again, get them to track their menses, get them to find out when they're feeling low or moody. Yeah, and then you can start prescribing some of these things. The humble little sesame seed, I know it's only tiny weeny, but I tell you what, it's packed full of calcium. It's a vegan's choice for calcium, really is. And in tahini, oh my goodness, put it as, you know, that can become your new nut butter. It's really good, especially if you've got people that have a nut allergy. Just get them to use tahini instead. It's good to stir into soups. It's good to stir into your stir fry. It's good to put into your hummus. It's high in your calcium, your iron, your magnesium, again, your essential fatty acids, your protein, your fiber. So all these things are great. You can see what superfoods are now. They're just power-packed nutrient foods. That's all they are. The new trend now is watermelon seeds. You know, when your mum used to say, don't swallow your watermelon seed, otherwise a watermelon will grow in your belly. Well, now you can tell your mums that, no, I need to have my watermelon seeds because they're really good. The thing with it, though, is make sure that you sprout them first and then shell them. You can eat them shell and all, but they're more effective if they are sprouted and then shelled, because they're high in protein, high in those EFAs. They've got a good amount of vitamin B, so really good for vegans again, and high in magnesium. Okay, so don't discredit. You've also got your pumpkin seeds, so you can start keeping all these seeds from all of these fruits and vegetables. Yeah, and there you have it: fennel seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, all really, really magnificent little power packs. Your chia seeds, by the way, as most of you would already know, they fluff up. So they fluff up and become quite gelatinous. And so therefore it is going to make you feel fuller for longer. Okay. Good for a sort of, you know, early morning breakfast. We then look at some of the spices. I'm not going to go into them in too much detail, but you've got your cinnamon. Now, cinnamon's a really good one for diabetics. Sprinkled over their you know, porridge in the morning. You know, they're good oats, whole oats, not those cut things or those microwavable things, but your whole oats. Sprinkled over your whole oats in the morning, it helps to regulate their blood sugars. Okay. Cinnamon also has fat burning properties. So, you know, with some diabetics, they may need to lose a little bit of weight as well. So it will help in the morning to get that thermogenics sort of going and moving and get that fat burning properties happening. Excuse me, it is quite chilly out here, so I'm trying to go as quickly as I can. Ginger, we all know ginger's great, especially for morning sickness. Yeah. The other thing about morning sickness that I say is make sure that you have a little bit of protein at night before you go to bed. Because what you're doing is, you know, just because you're sleeping doesn't mean the little embryo is sleeping. It's still growing while you're sleeping. Yeah. So feeding it a bit of protein at night and then having your dried sort of, you know, carbohydrate biscuit in the morning with some ginger will help to ward off some morning sickness. Cloves, magnificent for their numbing properties, great for your sore tooth. It also kills mold, so it's a really good one for household molds. And if you find any mold on, you know, some of your fruits might start to look a bit nasty, spray them with clove oils, put them in some apple cider vinegar, especially it helps to get rid of some of those pesticides and things as well. So a little bit of clove in with your apple cider vinegar to get rid of the chemicals off your fruit and veg is a good way to go. We've all heard of chai tea, or as the Indians call it, masala tea. There's nothing better, packed full of all sorts of spices, as you can see there. It's a really good chemoprotective, so it helps for the side effects of chemo. So it's a really lovely one to give somebody who's really struggling through their chemotherapy. And a lot of times with chemotherapy, your taste buds can change. And so therefore it's really lovely to have just a nice sort of spicy, tasty, put a little bit of raw honey in it, a squeeze of lemon, and you've just got this magnificent tea, or even a little bit of soya milk, you know, a good soya milk though. It helps with digestion, so it's a good one to have in the morning, and it also helps with brain health. And there you can see, again, an array of colours. Like it's an artistry in the making. It really is. I wanted to put teas in because teas are a superfood. You know, our herbal teas, we know some of the medicinal properties of some of our herbal teas, but a lot of our teas are also high in antioxidants, you know, and our herbal teas, a lot of people say to me, you know, oh, I just can't drink 2 litres of water. Well, have a herbal tea instead. Get them to try as many different herbal teas. And I often, in clinic, because I've also got a food safety certificate, I serve my patients a tea when they arrive. And if they say, oh, that's quite delicious, I then show them the packets, yeah? And I will vary it depending on what patient comes to me. So you can offer them tea, you can offer them an iced tea, get them to try before they buy. You're the practitioner, allow them to have some of these herbal teas, and you'll get them hydrated throughout the course of the day. These herbal teas also are going to be lower in calories than your English breakfast tea that's served with milk or sugar. You've got green tea and white tea. Now, even though green tea and white tea also have an amount of what am I trying to say? Caffeine. Sorry, there was a big gust of wind then. It also has the cateins, which is anti-inflammatory, anti-carcinogenic, and reduces stress. So a green tea or a white tea, just so that you know the difference. White tea are like the very first baby buds. They're the very top of the tea plant. You've sort of got your white tea, your green tea, and then you've got your black tea. Now, your black tea is quite high in caffeine. Matcha is a new one, well, not a new one. It's been around for centuries. It's not a new one. It's a tea that has been used for centuries by the Chinese and the Japanese. It's a green powder. It's quite delicious when served with some soya milk. There is a whole process to it all as to how to make it. If you go to some of the T2 shops, if you know of those, they'll actually give you some samples of things. And they, if you ask them to show you how to make it, it will help. Again, anti-carcinogenic, high in antioxidants. That helps with that oxidative stress and that mitochondrial damage, which is that cellular damage that we find that patients then start to get when they're really, really stressed, when they might be suffering from a bit of adrenal fatigue, their cells aren't working properly and they really do need a good boost, all right? It has some caffeine, but it also has L-theanine, which helps to reduce some of those caffeine sort of buzzy type properties. Another tea that's very underestimated is nettle leaf tea. I give this tea to patients that are convalescing or the patients that have been really, really ill because it's quite a nutritive tea. It really does have a lot of punch to it, and especially for iron purposes. If they're struggling to even sort of eat food, you've got to think of liquid ways to get some nutrients into them, and nettle leaf tea is one of those, I believe. There's your matcha powder, beautiful, green, lovely, quite delicious, really. We then move on to the whole grains. Now, your whole grains, obviously you've got all sorts of whole grains out there. I've just touched on a few. The biggest one in trend at the moment is your quinoa, high protein, good one for vegans, good one for people that are celiacs as well. But two that are very underutilized, and again, found in a lot of the Asian supermarkets. I went to a Woolworths the other day and couldn't actually find it. Went to my Asian supermarket and there it was, no problem at all. So your tapiocas and your sagos, these are gluten-free. These are allergen-free. They are anti-carcinogenic. They're high in calcium and iron. They're low in sodium. They help to support weight gain. Now, these are very good for your eating disorder patients. The patients that are struggling with bulimia or anorexia and they need to put on a little bit of weight. They are quite carb high, but they are also, there is a lot of new studies being done for their anti-carcinogen properties, their anti-cancer properties. And they're very, very gentle on the digestion. And there's nothing better than a nice sort of, mango, tapioca, coconut cream, a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of maple syrup type pudding, delicious. Buckwheat, again, gluten-free, just because it has the word wheat in it, doesn't mean it's a wheat product. Great one in your tabulis, great one in your soups, high in fiber, high in phosphorus and zinc, your folate, your niacin, which is one of your Bs, your protein. Buckwheat is, again, another one that's not utilised a lot. It is by a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, but not in a lot of the white Western sort of countries. It's about being diverse in your palate as well. Oat milk and oats, again, as I said before, none of these nipped in the bud sort of, cut oats. It's got to be whole oats. If you're going to use an oat milk, you can make your own oat milk from the oats, just soak them, and what's left over is the oat milk. Yeah, it's a soluble fiber. What that means is that, again, it's going to make you feel fuller for longer. It's a really good fiber for your gut, and it also has demulcent and emollient properties. Now, what do I mean by that? Demulcent means that it's going to be gentle on your gut. Emollient means that it's going to be gentle on your skin. So here, for all of you that have a bath at home, and I've done this with little people, like children that have your oats in a stocking, and then run the water through your oats. You end up with quite a milky bath, but it is excellent for your skin, superb for your skin. So it's not just of a nutrient value, it's also of a really good skin value as well. I'm sure when they were saying that Cleopatra bathed in milk and honey, I don't reckon it was milk, it was probably just oat milk instead. All right. Really good. Just make sure, because it is a food product, that you wash your pits and bits afterwards, because bacteria can obviously grow because it is a food product after you've had a bath. And there you have all the beautiful, beautiful whole grains, whether they're made into a flour, whether they're made into a pasta, etc., etc. We're then going to move into some of our individual superfoods. So at this stage, we've got things like cacao. We've all heard of cacao, and it is the forerunner to how they make chocolate. Okay, so it comes in powders, it comes in nibs. You can make it as a hot chocolate. You can put it into your slices, your bliss balls, your anything your little heart's desires. Predominantly, it is a sweet derivative, but cacao, just so that you know, and, I'll say this gently, you can actually coat your fish in cacao, and it's a Cajun thing. It's done, in New Orleans, and it's a Cajun style of food where you just, it works as like a flour, and it gives a richness to things. Put a bit of cacao in your spaghetti sauce and try that. See what happens, yeah? It's a longevity food, so it's going to help anti-aging. High in magnesium, helps with those feel-good hormones, again, those neurotransmitters, so really good for brain health. The processed form of it is dark chocolate. Now, if you're going to do chocolate, it's best to do dark chocolate, and it's best to do 70% plus, and it's best to only do 1 to 2 squares. Breathe, everybody. Yes, only 1 to 2 squares. That's all you need in order to get a good therapeutic value from it. Now, for those of you that are then going, well, I eat a whole block, well, that's great, but just be aware of the consequences. It could have some laxative properties. It could have some weight gain properties, yeah? High in flavonoids, so high in those really good nutrients that help to prevent cardiovascular and different types of cancer. Now, we all know that sugar is not good for us, and that there are good sweeteners out there. And one of the good sweeteners out there is honey. Always make sure that the honey that you buy is either organic or raw. Go to the local apiarist, go to the local markets, buy it like that, because the raw honey, the unprocessed honey, is so much better for you. It's antimicrobial. I use it for oldies who are having trouble, stimulating their appetite. A little bit in a little warm water in the morning, like half a teaspoon of raw honey, and in some warm water in the morning, helps to stimulate the elderly's, especially the elderly, their appetite. A lot of elderly get to the stage where, no, I don't want to eat, and we call them the tea and biscuit brigade, and they're only having a biscuit. A little bit of raw honey helps to stimulate that appetite. And as we know, raw honey also has wound healing values. So, you can, if you cut yourself, put straight raw honey on it. All right, so don't underestimate the power of honey. And we need bees in the world, because it would be a sorry world if we did not have them. There we have our cacao nibs, and our dark chocolate, and our wonderful little wondrous honey. Okay, support bees, support aporists. We need them. We're going to go on to something a little bit more unusual, though, and this is called Macha. Some of you may have heard of it. It is a South American root. It's what we call an adaptogen. So what it does is it helps the body to adapt to all the imbalances that it may be occurring in the body. So it's really good for male and female reproductive health. Yeah, it helps with testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. It's a memory enhancer, so it's going to help you boost your memory. Good for those of you that, are cramming for exams or things. It reduces any mood swings as well for, premenstrual stress. And you only need, see there, you only need 1 teaspoon a day. That's it. That's not a lot, but it helps with all these magnificent things. Another thing that's very underestimated is molasses. Now, in particular, the one that you want to buy is what's called blackstrap molasses, because it's the most concentrated. Molasses is the first crush of sugar. So sugar is okay. Sugar cane is actually okay. Molasses is actually okay, because as you can see there, 1 tablespoon a day gives you 12% of the magnesium that you need for recommended daily intake. 8% of your B6, 5% of your iron, 6% of your potassium, 6% of your selenium. It's jam-packed. 1 tablespoon in a smoothie and you're set for the day. You can also put molasses into other things like your cakes, your cookies, your what else am I trying to say? Your biscuits, your slices, your bisballs. Yeah. You can also put it in to help balance a very savory or salty dish. And there you have it, blackstrap molasses. And that's what maca root looks like as well. And in the back, it's in a powdered form. Moving on to nutritional yeast. So Saccharomyces and Cerevisiae. And it's nutritional yeast is a live yeast. It's what they use to bake breads or to make beer. What makes it nutritional is because it becomes a byproduct of the brewing process. It's part of the dead cells, or the part of the byproduct. You're looking for unfortified, or you can get the fortified. That's really good for vegans as well, because it's got that high B12. Comes in flakes, comes in granules, comes in powders. It's a complete protein. It's high in vitamin Bs and trace minerals. It's really lovely to sprinkle on your popcorn. Next time you want you all do your popcorn, sprinkle some nutritional yeast in it. It's got quite a cheesy flavor to it. So it's a good cheese flavorer, okay, without having the cheese. Now, the biggest thing that we haven't talked about is turmeric. Turmeric is your greatest anti-inflammatory. It helps with pain. It helps reduce inflammation. The curcumin is the active ingredient of turmeric. It's better to have the curcumin because turmeric itself is quite poorly absorbed. If you're going to have turmeric, you need to have turmeric with black pepper, okay, because the black pepper, and you also need to have it with fat. So this is why a turmeric latte needs to have a bit of pepper in it and a bit of coconut oil or some sort of fat within it in order for it to absorb properly within the bloodstream. But as you can see there, it's the greatest anti-inflammatory. It's high in antioxidants, helps with metabolic and heart health. It reduces brain disease. There's studies that have seen where turmeric can help with Alzheimer's, and it's a cancer preventer. So it stops those nasty cancer cells from actually even growing. Yeah. So it's a preventer. And as natural therapists, we want to be preventative, maintaining, that's who we are. And there you can see it. Bragg's is a very good brand that you can buy here in Australia of the nutritional yeast. You can use it as a seasoning. And there you can see all the things that turmeric does, which is really quite lovely. We move on to wine. Now, you know, 1 glass for women a day, 2 glasses for men a day. It's only 100 mils though. It's not a bucket. It's not a bottle. All right. It has what's called resveratrol in it, which is a polyphenol. And polyphenols are really good for heart health. They also help to regulate blood glucose levels. It helps with diabetic neuropathy. So when a diabetic gets what we call paresthesia or pins and needles, yeah, it helps with eye health. It helps with Alzheimer's. It also helps menopausal women with their, oh, no, I've spelt that wrong. I apologize. That should say hot flashes. I don't know how now that didn't show up. Martin was my editor, but anyway, hot flashes and moods. And even by eating grapes, they contain what's called quercetin, which is also an anti-inflammatory and an anti-carcinogen. Another anti-inflammatory is what's called bromelain, which is in pineapples. Again, both of these are quite high in fiber, and they reduce your LDLs and reduce that atherosclerosis, which is that buildup of plaque in the in your arteries. Okay. There's now red grapes, that is not white grapes. So I'm not saying go and drink your Shardies. It's more your Cab Sabs and your Shirazes. Some of the last, we're getting to the last of our slides, and some of these are things like, you know, these are things that I can't discuss in detail because we don't have enough time. But think of your sea vegetables, your seaweeds. There's a thing called Irish sea moss or bladderwrack, your dragon fruits, your pomegranates, your persimmons. A new thing that's out, which is one of the Ayurvedic herbs, which is really good for cellular health, is called moringa leaves. Some of your herbs, like your lemon balm, which is, you know, great for cold sores and great for immune health. Your dandelion, which is one of your bitters for liver health. Celery is so understated. It's a great diuretic and it's an antimicrobial. Your ancient grains, so you've got your amaranth, your telf, your barley, your millet. And then the other thing that we need to start utilising more of, especially here in Australia, is the tropical fruits, you know, your things like your pawpaw, or some might call it papaya, your pineapple, mangosteens. Oh my goodness, mangosteens are just a magnificent fruit. I can't get enough of them when they're in season. You know, again, go to your Asian supermarkets, go, you know, don't just go to the Woolworths and the Coles. Go to your fruit markets, go to your farmers markets, lychees, rambutans. Now, durian, I don't know if many of you have tried durian. It's really quite stinky. It's really quite a vomity, quite smell. It smells a bit like a nappy, but it is excellent as a superfood. If you're going to try it, the way I recommend you try that first is as a frozen product, yeah? Have it frozen because it's less stinky, okay? Sapodillas, tamarinds, all of these things you can certainly Google and learn more about. Kemu is another tropical fruit that, see there, it says it's 600 times higher in vitamin C. Really good for your hair and nails. It's anti-aging, and again, it hits those serotonins, dopamines, the norepinephrine and epinephrine, your adrenaline and your noradrenaline. So it really helps with all those stress neurotransmitters, reduces your cortisol, etc., and increases the oxytocins. And there are some of them there. They just look magic. They really do. Ladies, gentlemen, that's it from me. I'm sure you can research further about superfoods, but they are quite good, and I do recommend them wholeheartedly. Martin, are you around?
I certainly am, Sally, and thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic. Look, everybody, we are going to open it up to questions in just a moment, so please do stick around if you would like to have a chat or ask us any questions. First of all, I think we all need to give a massive round of applause to Sally for that amazing recovery she did after those technical difficulties we had at the beginning with the sound quality. So well done, Sally. And look, I think everybody would agree, you know, it's really clear that you obviously love what you do. You are just a wealth of knowledge. That was just a fantastic presentation. Now, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, you are welcome to type any questions into the chat box below the screen, and we promise to answer them. If you're on YouTube, we'll leave you there for now. Learn more with Switch On Health.